came in. So our first question is from Victor in California. He has two questions. His first question is, my property manager does not recommend escalations on a lease contract of 2 to 3 years. She says, what is the incentive for the tenant to sign a longer lease if the rent increases every year? Sharif, you always talk about including escalations in the lease. What is a good argument for convincing her to include rent escalations in 2 to 3 year lease terms? I'm only suggesting 3% per year.
All right. So Victor from California is asking to add 3% in a retail building, right? Strip mall or something like this?
Yes, he didn't really explain what type of.
Yeah, because in the follow-up question, I think you showed me earlier that he's talking about residential as well. So the answer is yes, always build into your contract a 3% per year. Some contracts say, well, CPI cost, the CPI index, the cost price index increase. I like to say a flat 3% increase year over year for residential and commercial. Now, it seems like Victor has a property manager who wants to debate that and saying, why should we increase them 3% per year? Well, let me tell you something. The most important thing about property management is revenue management. Because if you're just gonna manage people, complaints and all this, you're not gonna make it. Revenue management is all about maximizing the revenue. People that rent in buildings expect a 3% increase. If they don't, you need to build that expectation early on. Now, the problem seems to me more with the property manager than it is with the tenants. So you have to explain to the property manager your expectation calmly, clearly, and patiently, so she buys in on that idea. And that's the only way. She will also get a 3% raise on her salary if there is a salary of some sort, or she will get a bonus, etc., etc. So for sure, he's got two tasks to do. One, to put a built-in 3% increase on his residential and commercial leases year over year. And number two, to convince and explain to his property manager that that is a must. Because guess what's going to happen next year? Utility is going to go up. Property tax is going to go up. Insurance is going to go up. Everything goes up. And it is sad because when you think about it, you say, my God, what's going on here? Everybody's trying to gouge the next person. Well, that is the actual real estate business, and that is any business you're in. And I can give many examples, but I think you got the idea. I'm signing 2 long-term leases, 10-year leases. The 3%, they didn't even flinch. They didn't even mention anything. We're going through the LOI, 3% increase per year. Okay, I'll continue. Normal. All right, next.
All right, and by the way, you were right. It was a 10-unit strip mall.
10-unit strip mall, okay.
Yeah, I didn't see that. Number 2, I also own 2 single-family home rentals. Would your answer for number 1 above be the same for the single families as it is for the commercial? Should I include escalations in them as well?
Yes.
Got it. All right. Next question. And these are why I printed them out and gave them to you, Sharif, just so you could see Matt.
By the way, speaking of increases, so just a few days ago, I was talking to somebody and he said that he got an increase 40% year over year, and he's in Jacksonville, Florida. He's renting. He said, this is crazy. My wife is studying to be a nurse. I'm making this, and all of a sudden I'm paying $1,000. They go say $1,400. And when he called the management people, they said, look, these are the comparable rents. So he called around to move, found out everything is $1,400, $1,350, $1,450. It's not worth it for him to leave because he's going to have to pay more anyway. If he saves, he's going to be saving $50 a month. So he was very disappointed and was very upset. And, you know, situations like this, it's like there is really nothing you can do other than these people bought the building because they knew at the end of these leases, they're going to be increasing the rent. And sadly, that's capitalism. And thankfully, that is capitalism. Which side of the fence you want to be on, that's the problem. So there is the good and the bad about every structure. And this structure says, hey, you want to own your own building, maybe you can go get a house then and do a lease with an option to buy. And this way, you can line up a loan or have time to do certain things, and maybe as you make some payment, part of it goes to the equity build up, etc. But yeah, that has been happening. By the way, the conclusion is he was able to negotiate it to 1,300 a month instead of 1,400 by saying, look, I'm going to leave. I explained to him, I said, tell them I'm going to leave. It's going to cost you a month free rent. You're going to have to pay commission. So they kind of compromised and said, okay, you're right. Stay at 1,300. He saved 100. Hopefully one of these days, his wife finishes school and they can afford a home.